No, I can't. Hold on. I had something all set up to play. I think I'm going and I am live. And welcome to the Great Debate as I try to do some cool stuff here, and it's probably not going to work because of all the problems I've had today. Sorry we're late, and today we are joined by Teksylum and Thelron Wolf. Say hello. You're the other guy. Alright, now let's get some windows up here for people to be able to see what's going on, and I'm probably going to have to adjust them because of today's technical difficulties. Is there anyone in chat, and can you hear me alright? And well, whoops. Well, I make screw-ups and mistakes this morning to make up for the couple of shows that actually went decent. Thelron, I believe, told me he was a debater in his school. Oh. Would you like to talk about that briefly while I finish setting up this screen as our viewers? Interesting. Right. Well, real quick, because I don't know if you've watched the show, this is kind of the same format, except I don't really believe I've had a winner or a loser. That's not really what the show is about. I have a game board which has 18 topics in 3 separate categories, and we choose a topic. Behind the topic, there is either a question or a statement. And then for the 10-minute timer, we discuss our opinions and the reflections of opinions, thoughts, and premises on the statement or question in just an open chat forum between the 3 of us. We'll take input from the chat if there is any, and just kind of discuss how our feelings are on what that topic or question is. So it's just kind of a mellow conversational debate, just to bring forth new ideas, to offer ideas, to throw things out there and create a conversation and create some thought, maybe offer perspectives that other people haven't seen before. All right, so with that, let me get this board all running. All right. Now, I don't know if it's because I changed a few settings today. I was trying to make this run smoother, if that's why I ran into the problems. But, oh well. I'll get it fixed over the weekend. I'm going to wipe my computer off. We've got our board up, and everybody should be able to see it right now. Should we select a person to go first, or would you like to flip a coin? All right, Tech, pick a category. Virtual reality. Virtual reality, a phase or future of technology. Check, go ahead. All right, and how? All right, well, explain yourself. How do you feel? This open topic. Go ahead and just discuss this. Why? Okay, right. So, do you feel that it will become the future of technology, as in people will be heavily immersed in it, or will it become a way that we use to explore? There's other technologies coming out where virtual reality may assist in the technological advancements that we're having. Wherein if we can send a satellite or a rover to another planet and run it on VR, then you would effectively be on that planet in the place of the machine, but the machine is what's actually there. Much like our, right, go ahead, Tech. Sure, just cut right in, conversation. You can, you just got to give some supporting facts behind it. Either one. And then I'll keep tossing stuff out there, don't worry. Okay, and for that clarification for anybody else, virtual reality would be fully immersed, and augmented reality would be something like the Pokemon game where your phone tells you where the augmented parts are. Microsoft has their own version, I can't think of the name of it, where your room becomes your desktop. You can move windows in 360 degrees around you. You can put paintings on the walls that become active applications. So that would be the augmented reality. Correct. Okay. However, it would also be a form of virtual reality because you're not actually there. You're fully immersed in the presence of being there. You see that? And that's where part of it gets cloudy. Okay, I can see where you're going. That would kind of be something to... Yeah, I think he's talking clarification of virtual versus augmented as in the realisticness of the item. So, depending on the perspective, if you were to... Sorry, go ahead. And you know what? Don't... Okay, and to agree with you both... I'm listening. I was going to agree with you both, but go ahead. It's defined as... Okay. As for phase, if you want to look at our current progression, and I just want to toss this in there before we end the topic, if you look at our current progression of virtual reality, I honestly think our current mode of virtual reality is a phase, while virtual reality in itself is the off future of the technology we have. And my supporting factors behind that: there is no way right now, conceivably, for any human being to travel to most other planets in other systems. However, it is conceivable for a chip or a computerized device to make that traverse easily and record the data and take that data and combine it to create a simulated environment. However, I don't know how long we're going to be seeing that simulated environment within our current VR definition, because our current VR definition is a headset. Well, not definition, but our current VR mode, our mode of VR. Right. So this VR could just be something we step on and go, oh, well, that was nice, but we just learned how to do something so much better. So I see what you're saying there, and that's an awesome thought to look at as we progress forward, because that's happened a lot of times with actually with video modes, with DVDs and CDs and high def, and then skipping right over high def into Blu-ray, and then going right to HDMI, and then HD4, and then just continuing to progress. Yeah. And then all that was outdone by live streaming. And all. Yeah, but you can live stream most anything you want anymore. There's no point in using some of your own space. You could have a computer with almost no hard drive space, keep everything online in the cloud, and just access it remotely. So that's. That's right. I know. I can't stand cloud services. Unless I'm sending somebody something, there's no reason to use it. But, moving on. Thelron, it is your turn to pick a topic. And how are you liking this so far? It's not quite like a standard debate, but it's a good open forum. What was that? Yeah. Alright, Thelron, pick a category. Mainstream media it is. News agencies shouldn't be responsible for explaining the news, just announcing it. Yeah, go ahead, Tech. Absolutely. And I think that's a big thing that people are starting to see now with the rise of the internet is there's so much availability to the same information that if you're going to put a spin on it, people are going to keep looking to see if there's a spin on it. Okay, so here's something to throw in there. A lot of news outlets, when they do their broadcasts, and I'll say, it's a lot of morning news and the preset news shows that have something that they have to put on every day. They tend to put more of a spin on things and not just explain, but explain how they see it. For certain cases, I think just announcing what has happened with the information available is all that should be done. But at the same time, when you look at them explaining the news, how many times have you seen a news report where they literally say in it, we only have 3 minutes to look at this, but this is a huge topic that we'd like to go deeper into. Sorry, there's only 30 seconds left, but I want to ask you this critical question that needs 20 minutes worth of debate. And I feel that they don't put enough time into certain things and they put too much time in others. Go ahead. Oh, and there's the time. I'm going to send a message to the chat. Is everyone hearing okay? Is anyone hearing okay? I haven't gotten any responses from the chat. Alright, and that means we're back to tech. Tech, would you like to pick a category? Hi, Fenris, how are you doing today? Religion. An almighty, all-powerful being, or an explanation for the unexplainable, the god of the gaps. For the unexplainable. Basically, it's an almighty, all-powerful being, or the god of the gaps. To explain the god of the gaps concept, I believe, why can't I think of his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson put it out there that the people who still believe in God, that while they research science, use God to explain what science cannot explain yet. So there's the true belief in an almighty, all-powerful being that has designed and created everything, or there is an almighty, all-powerful being that is only the explanation for what we can't explain. The god of the gaps. Okay. Yeah. Go, Tech. Talk. No, that's fine. The time's there to eat up.
Just about everything, whether it's a gap or not in understanding and
I have to,
comprehension.
hold on, I'm going to cut in and apologize, guys. I'm fixing an audio problem real quick because apparently you guys weren't coming through properly. So go ahead and keep talking now.
Okay.
Okay. As I was saying, I have to include both. I include the first one within the second one because I do believe that there might possibly be an almighty, all-powerful being to both explain science itself as well as the gaps that science can't explain. We use science as a tool. Okay, science is nothing more than a tool that has been made up by the human mind. But here's a personal quote of mine. All of existence is not required to comply to the human mind's ability to perceive and comprehend. In other words, it doesn't, you can't rely on all of existence providing us with the information we need because we are limited and we are flawed. The gaps, of course, may be things that we haven't discovered yet. However, the discovery does not nullify that there is an almighty, all-powerful being, either. Okay, that's what I have to say.
Okay, I can see that. Just because we can disprove all that currently tells us that there is, doesn't mean there possibly isn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course,
and the other way around.
Right.
Disprove. And am I coming through? Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. It looks like I wasn't. According to Maddie, I wasn't putting enough audio out from you guys to the stream. So I think I have that corrected now.
All right. So basically, when we talk about, like we have the scientific community saying, "Oh, we disproved this," the idea of an almighty, all-powerful being. But I mean, it seems like recently science has been treated as a deity all in of itself when it comes to the scientific community. And it's almost as if, like, if you deny science or if you deny any part of modern science, you're a heretic. So, I mean, that's kind of dangerous because science is not, it is a tool, like you said. And so when we have science going off and like saying, oh yeah, this, and this is true, and these are people coming up with these ideas that are fallible. It is almost as if people are looking to science for the answers to the world, and so when they go off and like, oh, we disproved the idea of an almighty, all-powerful being, and people point to the scientific community to point back to that and say, well, yeah, now that's just a lazy man's excuse to explain the unexplainable. It seems unbelievable to believe that people would really follow the scientific community so blindly, even though the scientific community has a history of being wrong and extremely wrong on big things. I mean, just a few decades ago, we were believing that the Earth was going to freeze over.
And we can't believe...
Well, we were believing the same thing about a month ago.
I was going to say, we also believe in things that cannot be proven nor disproven as well, based on science.
Yeah.
Like the theory of the Big Bang.
Yeah, I believe that there's gravity. I cannot prove that there's gravity. I cannot prove gravity actually exists, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's the unexplainable molecule.
On the ground.
Because we can't prove or disprove a graviton.
No, that's not a molecule.
The theory...
That's something else.
I cannot prove time. I cannot prove that there's this thing called time. But science tells me it's there, so obviously it is. And that's the whole idea of science being a deity in itself.
So all we can do is experience things.
Where I was going with that.
All we can do is experience things. we can't prove them to be true or false. I just have one more thing when the timer runs down here.
It's down.
There is a famous scientist. Yeah, there's a famous scientist called Albert Einstein who once said, "You can never prove or disprove a scientific theory because you never will know what will come along to."
Yeah.
You can never prove a scientific theory because you never know what will come along to disprove it. There you go. Sorry.
Okay.
And yeah, I just want to point out,
I think we have time to run one more. It's going to run me over my hour block, but I still have it run for an hour-long show. So let's run one more and see how long it takes.
All right.
All right.
I'll go ahead and go for, let's see. Let's have a little bit of fun, just because, well, LGBTQ.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
If the LGBTQ plus community is inclusive, should there be a cis inclusion?
Oh boy.
That is.
That's a loaded question.
Wow. All right. I'll go ahead and choose real quick. So, if they are truly inclusive, obviously there should be a cis inclusion. But I'm going to go a little bit off the rails here, and say that the idea of the LGBTQ community is a community for, oh man, what's the word? Because they don't necessarily. It's basically a community for people with gender dysphoria and various mental disorders. It's like when you have a community for people with autism, they don't include people without autism in their name. Cis is effectively the word, because I live in California, so I get stuck with this stuff all the time. Is basically people without gender dysphoria. Normal people, basically. So they're inclusive to their own sect of mentally ill people. And I'm not trying to be like offensive or stepping on anyone's toes. This is scientifically, funny, we were just talking about science, like scientifically, mentally, exactly what it is. It is gender dysphoria, which is a mental illness.
It's a sound theory.
Yeah. And so it's inclusive to the people that suffer from that and working them through their gender dysphoria and like helping them cope with what they have. So it being inclusive to the cis people, the people without the gender dysphoria, would be like having non-autistic people part of the autistic community. This whole thing is talking about. And yeah, that's my initial thoughts on it.
Okay.
Well, I say that there shouldn't even be an inclusion of the LGBTQ minus 5 plus 24, whatever, because they consider themselves a community, but I don't see the community. I see them as a member of the country that they live in. There's also a really small percentage, we're like talking 0.002 or 0.02, can't remember which one, that's like transgender or something. And I want to know whatever happened to transsexual.
All right,
when do we stop using that?
We're not going to go through explaining the definitions, but I suppose we could cover on them. Actually. Right. See, I had a kind of a goal with this question, and I left it loose and open, as I do with most of the stuff that I put in this game board. I want it to be loose and open so it can be interpreted and seen different ways. That way the conversation can be expanded upon. I left it at LGBTQ plus because once you get past the Q, nobody agrees. Nobody agrees what's after that Q. The original movement was the LGBT, which everybody was okay with, and that was at a time when science didn't allow for actual sexual transition, and then transsexual and transgender were interchangeable as one word because it was one thing. It was a transvestite, somebody who wanted to change to be something else. Now, when you speak, transvestite is a crossdresser. Transsexual is somebody who changed their sexual
Right.
organs, and transgender is somebody who changes their appearance to the social, to their social surroundings. So when you ask if they should be inclusive, they made a huge statement of including mixed racial divisions into the LGBTQ plus community. So if you keep including more and more divisions and segments of society based on arbitrary designations, and including using their sexual preference, their sexual deviations, or whatever you want to define, if you keep adding categories to this, if you keep adding to the alphabet at the end, then why shouldn't you include people that don't have a problem, considering one of the fights from this community is that they want to be seen as normal for what they are. And cis, I looked it up a long time ago, I want to say is without change or a standard deviation, although it doesn't appear until in dictionaries until the late 90s. So it's really hard to look it up and find an accurate definition because it's still a newer word. Prefix, I should say.
Well, what I was going to say was, I don't think they should be inclusive of everyone, because they are, like he said, they're a group of, I would call them mentally problematic. If anything, say it nicely, mentally problematic. But then again, there's also many quote-unquote cis people who have mental illnesses as well. They just don't have those kind of mental illnesses.
Yeah.
So if they want to be inclusive, they can include the entire world based on something that's wrong with a person. Because there's always something wrong with a person. So they might as well just include everybody in the world and just call it the human species.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
And then what is the point for the designation? This is why this question seems somewhat important to me, is if you keep trying to include things, like if you want to include a two-spirit American Indian, which I believe somewhere in here there's a 2S or SS or something like that listed in one of the readouts. A two-spirit is basically almost like their religious ideology is. They are like a shaman or somebody who's, who is, and I can't speak very specifically on this because I don't know any of Native American Indians who are, still practicing. So how do you define that? So you add a two-spirit person because it's there. You add something in the Hindu religion got added because it's there. Some people want to add P for pedophiles. Some people want to add P for something else. I forget what it was. It's like the more times you read or see this, it's always got different extensions, different letters, different designations and additions to it.
Well,
but the one thing they all seem to say is, well, we don't want that cis-normative culture. We don't want this. I'm trying to think of what it was when they keep throwing out there cis as a slur. But shouldn't they try to include us if they want to be seen as normal? Shouldn't they want to include cis people so that...
Well, as I said, gay is a slur, actually, because gay means happy.
Yeah.
But they turned it into something that represents homosexuals.
Well, how do you know they're not happy?
To be honest, like when it comes to the LGBTQ,
well, you can't say every gay person is happy.
Yeah, true. But honestly, when it comes to the LGBTQ community, like you said, there's people that disagree on what the heck the letters mean, and you have different areas where it's like, yes, it's include colored people, which I have no idea why the community was set up for people with gender dysphoria, and I think that them trying to include colored people and use cis as a slur shows that I think gender dysphoria does more than just screw up your gender identity, because it doesn't make any sense, and that they're trying to include everyone but cis people into this community that they even say is for gender dysphoria.
Okay, let me toss in a few things before we get to the end here. We got
All right.
Vicky Online 9.8U. A two-spirit is a balance with the feminine and the masculine. They likely would not want to be included in such labels as LGBTQ. And this is what I'm saying. The LGBTQ is just basically like the blob. It's just rolling down the street, gathering up whatever it can grab, and it just hangs on to it and grows. So the more that they learn, the more they try to encompass.
Let me present this real quick. The last time I saw that, the LGBTQ, it was something like 32 characters long, and there were several repeats of the letters.
Yes, because they have different designations. Yeah. From Mad Woman, I have been hearing all them. Queer used to be a slur when I was a kid. You could not call gay people that at all. Now, this brings me back to a conversation I had in somebody's video. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to be mean to them. I just wanted to put it out there. To tell people that they should or shouldn't say a word because it is or isn't a slur. Different people are going to use the word differently in the vocabulary based on where they live. Gay, in the areas that I've lived in, gay, queer, homo, they've all been used both as slurs and as designations that are acceptable depending on the person and the area that you live in. And it's all about being able to adapt to your surroundings. So I just want to say that people should be able to say what and how they want. Just remember that it's about how you're perceived sometimes. Be aware of your surroundings and use the vocabulary of your surroundings.
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, no, don't expect me to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are at the 50-minute mark. Would you guys like to run for 10 more minutes on one more category, or would you like to call it a show?
I have no preference, honestly. I could go either way. I'm good either way.
Tech?
I said I'm fine, too.
Audience, would you like to go one more round?
It'll take them 10 minutes to respond.
No, I've only got like a 3 or 4 second lag going. My connection is good. I'm monitoring it from a second computer.
Oh, not because of lag, just because I...
No, that's just the stream health.
Now see, I'm showing 5 after the hour.
Okay, there we go.
That's strange.
Yeah, but I started 13 minutes late, so... who picked the last category? I think it was Thelron, so that would leave the next category up to Tech. Do you like your new wrench, Vicky? The internet.
Did you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Have we actually... Oh, I spelled that wrong. Have we actually progressed much further than AIM, or just expanded on it?
AIM?
AOL Instant Messenger. Do you remember it? Anybody? Anybody? Don't tell me I'm the only old guy in the room.
Okay, how about... what? You the old guy in the room? Remember?
You don't got much on me, man.
I would say that AIM was just another form of communication over the internet. It wasn't anything special.
No, it wasn't. It was not anything special. But if you remember and you go back, AIM was one of the first. AIM was when AOL connected. Well, it was one of the first. And actually, this is more, do you agree that... Hold on. Let me expand on this for you so you can clarify. AIM was one of the first messengers, and it started out and started offering more options and availabilities to the users in ways of communicating. And then that led to Yahoo competing with AIM, and other companies competing with Yahoo, and then new companies springing up and competing, so that we now have YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Minds, Gab. We have all of these communities that basically, if you look into their basic structure, do the same thing. But on the outside, they all work very different. So have we progressed much further than having AIM, or have we just expanded on the original structure that we started with?
So first I just want to point out that December 15th, AIM died. They killed it after 20 years of running.
That's why this is here.
So rest in peace, old friend. Rest in peace. But in essence, a lot of the chat websites and programs. Probably I never used it, so but I know enough about the direct messaging system and how programs work in essence that there is no way that it progressed further than it. We simply expanded upon it. We basically used the basic template, and all we've done is expanded on what we had. Adding new features like voice chat. I don't know if that was actually part of it. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
It was added. I want to say 2 years. 2 years into it, they had it eventually. It wasn't in the beginning stages, but it was added later on. You can sit and talk over your computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me say this. First of all, AIM was not one of the first.
No, but it was the
far.
first recognizable one to most people.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to go back and say IRC was the most recognizable one. Internet Relay Chat.
Okay, but if you have to explain to somebody what an IRC is, it's not the most recognizable.
Okay, maybe it was at one time, even after AOL came out, or AIM came out, AIM. But nowadays, of course, it's getting lost. But let's see. AOL was first introduced in the AOL desktop. It was kind of like a bundle with AOL desktop. And then in 1997, I believe, it was distributed as its own client. As far as progressing, to me, it's just another communication program. Just another one of many, before it and after it. But I don't think there's anything to improve on something like that. If you can improve what has been improved upon with internet communication is the speeds that we have nowadays, the quality that we have nowadays, and integrating the telephone system into our online communications. But AOL in itself, I don't think we've improved upon AOL, which is internet communication.
So we haven't progressed much farther than it, but we have expanded on it, is what you're saying. Vicky Online tossed in...
expanded on the concept.
Yeah, and that's what this is here for. Vicky Online tossed in, AOL used to come in the mail. That was very different from today. It was very different, but AOL was, and this is why I used AOL and AIM, is it was one of the ones that it didn't matter where you went. If you went into a store, if you went on the internet, if you opened your cereal box, if you got something in your mailbox, you would see AOL everywhere. They'd have discs hanging at registers. You would literally find them in every other magazine you ordered or bought in the store. There'd be an AOL installation file on new discs as they came out. You could just pop it in your computer.
I know somebody who wallpapered their walls of all the walls inside their house with AOL discs.
Yes, they were everywhere. You couldn't get away from it. It was the most widely known thing there was. Now we have all of these new servers that basically do a bombastic version of the same thing.
Yeah. What's interesting is there's different websites and stuff that use like a way more complicated and way more intense version of AIM just as a minor function of their website. And it's amazing as to how far we've come with like.
I just want to set this straight out there, if you don't mind, Thelron. That AOL was based on protocols, communication protocols, and there's still every internet communication platform you have nowadays still uses those same protocols. I mean, later releases, of course, but it just boils down to the protocols because that's what you use to communicate over the internet. So the AIM, the program, the application, the program, the software It was designed over those protocols. So I don't think the software itself should be asked about. It should be what drives them.
Okay.
That should be asked about.
I try to be, the reason I use AIM, again, is to try and give a findable reference for people to go to. So, like I said, not a lot of people are going to know what IRC is. I didn't join IRCs till a few years ago. I really didn't use them, but I used AOL when it came out. A lot of people in our generation, even youngers, are going to see it.
I think IRC chat came out in, let's see, 1988, I think it was. Let me see here. Yeah, August of 1988 is when IRC came.
So, I mean, not everybody's familiar with certain things, but AOL everybody knows. Yep, Thelron.
I understand, but I interrupted Thelron, and I apologize about that, so go ahead.
Oh, geez, my jaw. Yeah, like, just that, I don't think that there's any possibility for us to progress further than AIM at all, because it's the foundation of communication. You can't exactly progress further without expanding upon communication. There's no real way to do so.
It was one of the beginnings of our digital communicational foundation, we'll put it that way.
Yeah. Like, I don't see a reality where we progress further than AIM without simply just expanding upon it. There's no real path to progress further than AIM that isn't expanding on it.
All right, so in the last minute,
everything that we do when we progress with technology is, when it comes to technological communications over the internet, is simply expanding on what AIM's foundation was.
Okay, so in the last minute, let me offer you this theoretical, well, not theoretical, this question to think about. What would be a progression past this type of communication server? Would it be a holographical communication, or would that still be some type of connection to this base? Would we have to completely away with digital medium and get into some sort of 3D holographical / maybe even VR interactive communicational server?
I mean, I guess that's still expanding upon AIM, as it is the internet to internet, over the internet communication, and VR communication would simply be another form of video chats. So it'd be expanding on it. Yeah.
I think if we go to holographic imagery, then we're just talking about new and improved protocols. That's what it boils down to.
Okay. All right, and with that, I'm going to call it a show. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on today's show. It has been an awesome conversation. We're going to put some snow in the background, because our next show will be on Monday, Christmas Day, at 9 a.m.
All right, I'm going to try to make it.
All right, I'm going to throw out for some new contestants for that show, so if I find new ones...
Then we are.
Say that again?
Nobody.
Well, I'm going to try and get a couple of new guys in for Monday. If I don't, I'm going to contact previous contestants, because I'd like to try and get the show mixed up, get some other conversations and thought processes in here, you know? So I'm going to throw an invite out and try to get a couple of newbies in for a whole show on Monday. If I don't, I'm going to contact the two of you to see if I can get you back. So our next show again, episode 8, will be on Christmas Day at 9 a.m. Thank you again for joining me.
One little thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, just something about the username. Nothing really important. It's not an L, it's an I.
Oh, it's an I.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
All right, I was misreading.
Server. No,
all right.
But, no worry. It's just, I just figured I'd point that out now.
Okay, I must have been reading it wrong. I do that sometimes when I read quick.
Yeah, no, probably. No worries, no worries.
Okay, so we'll see everybody again on Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, and have a good weekend. Merry Christmas.